This is an OWT 730 assignment that talks about the change gamification management plan to support innovative educational technology, integrating practices into the institutional, type of doing things. On the introduction part, one needs to understand what gamification is, which is something that is done to enhance or incorporate games into the educational aspect. This assignment is going to focus more on the observations and the descriptions of what needs to happen in terms of the gamification part. Further to that, one needs to look at the institutional context of Ikhala TVET College, which is a TVET college that is situated in the Eastern Cape province. Its focus is to establish and encourage the learning environment. Further to that, it must allow the access to students in terms of the learning. Furthermore to that is the issue of the requirement analysis, where we look at what Ikhala possesses in terms of the ICT resources, the hardwares and the softwares. In terms of the hardwares, we're having computers, interactive board, and the laptops for lecturers. And on the software part, we're focusing on the Cisco Moodle and the Wi-Fi that students use to access the e-learning components. I further looked at the backward design, which is the most important part of constructing curriculum in the subject, so that it incorporates whatever that needs to be done. We look at the three aspects, where we look at the planned learning activity, secondly identify desired outcomes, and also the acceptable evidence of what needs to be. Furthermore, we look at the TPEC, where we are focusing more on the technical aspect. We combine it with the pedagogy part and also the content aspects, where we cover the content knowledge, pedagogy, and the technical aspect. So these are the key parts that one needs to look at in terms of the TPEC. Moving further is the issue of the actual plan that one needs to have. I decided to look at the lecturers creating educational content using kuCHA. And kuCHA is a free online gamification that one needs to use in terms of incorporating the content in terms of the e-learning. Moreover, we look at the description of the activities using the principles of gamification. We're going to use three activities, which is kuCHA quiz, brainstorming, and also the NPS scaling to range whatever that needs to be done. We look at the description, outcome, and how this gamification is going to be applied. It is explained in each and every activity. In addition to that, we touch on the which badges are students playing for or working for. We look at how these are going to be assessed in terms of the outcome reach, and also the use of the technology in each activity that needs to take place as identified in terms of. Moreover, I touch on the issue of SAMRA, where we talk about the 4IR, and then we talk about the 4 components in each activity, which is the substitution, argumentation, modification, and also redefinition of what needs to happen. It is explaining each activity how this is going to be applied. The second component of SAMRA is the issue of constructivism, where we look at how we are going to ensure that we integrate the technology in terms of advancing the issue of learning process that must take place in terms of using gamification and the resources that we're having in terms of ICT. The second last aspect in terms of SAMRA is the issue of diversity and access, where we try to incorporate everything in terms of our activities in a way that it talks to what students are supposed to learn in terms of the diversity, and also we look at the e-resources that students are going to be using in terms of completing these activities. On the observation part, we look at the observation and the reflection part, where we spoke about the description of what has been observed in terms of how the lecturers have been using kuCHA quizzes, and how they have managed to use the implementation, where lecturers were trained and also students were able to implement what is supposed to be done. I also looked at the evaluating the implementation of the outcomes reached. On this part, lecturers were chosen, and also lecturers were able to use this in terms of incorporating it into their activities, and these there's an evidence in terms of how they have seen how this plan is going to help them going forward. The evidence also touch on the TPEC, where we look at how they have applied their content knowledge. We looked at how the pedagogy knowledge they have used in terms of implementing this, and also the technological knowledge that they have applied. And evidence is attached to supplement what has already taken place in terms of the reflection. Furthermore, on the reflection part, we discovered that the relationships were formed in terms of the classroom, in terms of how students have been able to comprehend what is supposed to happen. The second relationship was the issue of the technological pedagogical knowledge, whereby the students were able to use the digital components in their learning. Part that one needs to look at is the issue of the policies that must be used in terms of ensuring that this plan is going to work. Is the issue of the academic policies, the issue of the law, the issue of the ethical part, the issue of the copyright. All these things are covered in terms of the policies. Yes, there are certain areas where the college needs to work at, for instance, the issue of the copyright. In terms of the conclusion, one needs to note that the e-learning part allows students to integrate a successful gamification on how certain things are supposed to be done. And this has been evident in terms of how this thing has been done. And also a peCHA kuCHA presentation is going to be attached on what needs to happen. Thank you very much for your time.